Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. A super quick update for you today. Transfer news and clues and views are back. Hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love on Sunday. We've already done a live stream where we spoke about a few bits and pieces, but I did say at the end of the live stream, I didn't have time to go through all the transfer news. So let's get into it. And there's a really interesting one out of Fajacious. I know what you're going to say, Fajacious for Schmacious, but they are someone that knows a thing or two about Spanish football. They're not very good when it comes to transfers outside of their department. They're a bit very speculative. Let's give them the least amount of credit as they deserve. But however, there is actually an interesting story here regarding their knowledge on a man called. Oh, what's all that blue? Let's at least wrap it in blue, shall we? That looks even worse. That looks even worse. Let's put something like that in the background. Let's have a little look-see at this, guys, for you. And this one is about Ferran Torres. I mean, what a player. I love Ferran Torres. Always have done. He's a quality player. Let's read the story. A fresh update from Fajacious has stirred the atmosphere around Barcelona as the club has reportedly received a €65 million proposal from Tottenham Hotspur for Ferran Torres. The offer, unexpected in both timing and value, has sparked internal discussions and left the board seriously assessing what could become one of the most delicate decisions of the season. Tottenham's interest is neither new nor superficial. The London side has been tracking Ferran closely for several weeks, convinced that the Spaniard's strong Premier League background makes him an ideal reinforcement. At 25, Ferran is entering what many consider his prime years. And his current level at Barcelona reflects exactly that. He has become one of the most reliable forwards in Hansi Flick's squad, a player who contributes with movement, intensity, clever positioning, and the ability to appear in dangerous areas at the right moment. Spurs believe his skill set translates perfectly into English football, and with Barcelona's financial concerns still very real, the club's willingness to spend 65 mil speaks volumes. It's a figure that represents a clear profit for Barca, considering they paid around 55 million for Manchester City for his services. For a club working under tight economic conditions, an offer that guarantees direct profit always commands attention. Inside Barcelona, however, the reaction is mixed. While some voices in the boardroom highlight the financial opportunity, this is coming from Barca Universal, by the way. Members of the coaching staff view the situation through a more competitive lens. Ferran has earned Flick's trust thanks to his versatility across the forward line and his renewed consistency. He is no longer a rotational option, has become a key component of the attack. Look, it remains to be seen. However, what I would say, 65 million is a lot of money to a team that are struggling for financial resources, that always seem to be having to figure out ways. I forget the word. Is it parandas? I think it was parandas, which is another word for like levers, pulling the levers. In their financial reports, they managed to squeeze out some sort of relative massive reduction in their losses from last year because of their selling off of, TV rights and future revenues, etc. And if we take a look at Ferran Torres, look, he's a player that can play basically anywhere, right? In his career, he's played 149 games as a right winger, 96 as a left winger, 70 as a centre forward, and a little micro game there as attacking midfielder. He's as versatile as someone like a Semenyo is. I rate him. Look at his goals. 72 GA in 170 games. It's over just like 2.5 games per goal or GA. At Valencia, not quite as well. At Manchester City, he did pretty well. 20 in 43. He's done a lot. And he's done it in the Champions League as well. This is the story, right? So 43 games in the Champions League, 22 GA. Pretty impressive. In the Premier League, he wasn't no slouch. Obviously, Manchester City had an abundance of talent for them to choose from, but he got 12 GA in 25. So again, a goal, a GA every other one. He is a really interesting player. He scored against my second club, Elche, last week. And look, this season so far, La Liga, 6 GA in 11 and 2 goals in 3 in the Champions League. It's not something to sleep on He'd be like an unorthodox attempt and an approach. I don't know why he would want to leave. I'm sure he's very happy at Barcelona. If you're playing minutes at Barcelona, are you going to want to leave to come to Tottenham? Possibly not. Maybe this is one of those situations where, sometimes you're looking for the Tottenham approach to get into the ear of the agent and the player and say, look, come to us. You'll do well here. Make it uncomfortable, like maybe with an Ivan Toney situation, right? Like Ivan Toney doesn't. He may be okay in Al Ahly. Al Ahly won't want to let him go, but in order for that to happen, as a loan deal for 6 months, you might need to get into his ear and say, tell them you'll be back, but you have to go and try and get into the World Cup squad, etc. And so you're asking, like, you're trying to sort of maneuver and like get into the mechanics of the mindset, the psychology, and who is it that you can leverage there to try to make something happen. In this one, it might be the other way around. It might be one where, if there's truth to it, and who knows, but if there is truth to it, it might be one where you have to sort of go and speak to Barcelona and kind of like make it uncomfortable for Ferran Torres. And maybe one of those sorts of ways of doing it is by offering such a high amount of money for a player. I rate Ferran Torres. I always have. As I said, I think he's a really good player. I'd like to see him back in the Premier League. I would be surprised if he would want to come. But maybe that's where the sort of size of the transfer bid, the consideration here is one where you offer that sort of money to show your intent, to show your interest. And where Barcelona sort of say, well, okay, if you up that a little bit more, you're getting to a number where you can't really return it. You can't really refuse it. You can't really turn it down. And so then maybe Barcelona turn around to Torres and say, I don't know, I'm speculating here, but maybe they say something towards that kind of end. Like, it is what it is. This is it's a business decision, essentially. And Barcelona have got a lot of talent. Like, Barcelona have got a lot of options in the forward line. Yes, he's playing a lot under Hansi Flick, but they do have a lot of options, a lot of different, versatile players that can squeeze and fit in. I don't know. I'd be surprised. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. I'm trying to figure out if there is truth to it. I don't know if there is, of course. If there is, how would it work? How does it make sense? Do you like the idea? Please let me know in the comment section. And by the way, please do smash the like button if you haven't already. I really appreciate all the support in this dry international break transfer window melee. We're gonna have to sort of move on a little bit here. Let's get this next story up for you. Team Talk. Team Talk, they're not shy of a transfer story or two. They have suggested, and of course, it is the man, Mr. Jones, over at Team Talk, who's a transfer expert, but he's falling into the traps of just saying any old thing. He says that Tottenham are observing the circumstances of French-Algerian right winger Magnus Akliouche at AS Monaco. Last Thursday, Spurs scouts attended the players' match with the French national team against Ukraine. The English club is also interested in Antoine Semenyo, and if a deal for him is not completed, Tottenham might make the recruitment of Akliouche a priority. First and foremost, this is where you kind of sit there and go, really, what are we doing here? That there's no reason to think that Tottenham don't have interest in Akliouche. Akliouche, he is a fantastic player. We saw him play so brilliantly against us. We were linked with him in the summer. I was someone that loved the player last year at Monaco. I think he's a top player when he was playing. Top player, but sort of question marks around the suitability. I think he would certainly work, right? But then he's for me, he was a right winger, or he's a winger that plays. He can play off the right, can play off the left. He can certainly be a bit versatile, but he is someone that comes in to the into the 10 role more prominently. If we sign him, what does that mean for Decky, for Maddison, and of course, obviously for Xavi Simons? I don't think we're going to get an Akliouche. I think we've already made our mind up. I think we went down the path of Xavi Simons. And by the way, I've got all the patience in the world for Xavi Simons, because you know how I feel. I feel like the club is setting up in a certain way that kind of makes victims out of certain positions and certain players. And then when they get sort of stinker and hooked, it's not necessarily stinker and hooked, or it is, unless you don't bake in the context of the way that the team is set up. So that's where my sort of protection mindset comes from, and why I get a little bit frustrated with Thomas Frank is that he's not setting the team up to play to a certain style that allows certain players to do well. And then when the crowd are getting frustrated and the team isn't working out, those are the players that are getting hooked, when really it should be a pivot in the strategy rather than a pivot in the people that are performing the strategy, if that makes sense. So I'm not a huge fan of that one. Anyway, Akliouche, it's a great player. I don't see that one happening in the short term. Another story out. There's two other stories I want to bring to you super quickly. One of them is about Nicholas Raskin, who is a a player plays for Rangers, a player we've been linked with a couple of times now. Football Insider's Pete O'Rourke. Never a dull day without Pete O'Rourke exclusive. He says, explained that it is unlikely that Tottenham will sign Nicholas Raskin in January, but if he does not sign a new Rangers contract before the end of the season, he could be available for a reduced price next summer. O'Rourke also stated that Raskin has 18 months left on his deal, and if he stays at Rangers until next summer, there will be further interest in him, and that might be the time to sell. I'll be entirely honest with you guys. I actually quite like Raskin. I think he's a very good player. Let me see if I can show you his information here. He's done very well. He's broken into the Belgian team, put in a really fantastic performance recently for Belgium. He plays as he's a sort of box to box player as an 8 for Rangers. Can also lean into the DM role. I don't think he's the sort of guy that we're going to get 24 years old. They say he's valued at 12 million euros. Look, I think he's actually, a really decent, a very good player for the standard. But I don't know whether or not he just looks great at playing against Aberdeen and against, Falkirk or whatever else. He's not someone that's going to excite me. And I'm at the point now, I've said it 1,000 times, I need to see Tottenham drop 200 million quid on about 4 positions: a left winger, a striker, a box-to-box midfielder, and possibly a left-sided centre-back that can allow us to do a little bit more with someone like Micky van der Ven, who I think has all this potential to be utilised in a more aggressive offensive system, but that because we don't have a left-footed, left-sided player to combat his position, to be competitive in that regard, and also we haven't got the players back to be able to utilise a back three. We're currently got this kind of wonderful asset that, let's be honest, if you take away Micky van der Ven's pace, he's a good defender, but he's not a great one. Right, he's got these weaknesses in his game, but with his pace, he's phenomenal. But because we're playing a lower line this year, you're not really seeing Micky van der Ven at his best, and you can see the little things when he takes those moments. He's driving with the ball. He's done it. He did it in the Copenhagen game. He did it in the game against Chelsea and got picked off. He almost got picked off against Manchester United. He did it last night for Holland as a left back. Like, he can't do that stuff in a back four as a left-sided centre-back. I'm sorry, it's too risky. But if you're going to play him at left back for Holland, he can do it, right? And people saying you're going to ruin his hamstrings. Sorry, but like if we're, first of all, when you're driving with the ball at pace, but you're also carrying the ball, like, you're not running at 100 miles, 100% of your speed, because you have to also always like consider where the ball is in relation to your footstep, etc. And so there's always going to be a little bit of a reduction in that. Second of all, if we're saying never utilize a player that's best asset is their pace because of a fear of them getting injured, then you're either saying one or two things. One is, which is I agree with, we haven't got enough depth behind, so his absence is a problem, which we need to fix. Two is, you're also sitting there saying, well, let's just kind of like, we're more worried about the risk of the more risk than we are, positive thoughts here. And I'm not about that. So we have to figure out a way to use Micky van der Ven better. And that requires, for me, a much better rotation within our centre backs. Get some players back, get Dragerson back, get Kota Takai back. You can try a back three. Then you can allow him to play on the left side and do those sorts of things, knowing that he's got people behind him. Or you go and get a better left-sided centre-back if you want to continue as a back four, and occasionally try him either have a fourth sort of left-sided centre-back type player at left-back that can cut in, kind of like a Guardiola can do at Manchester City, or you put him at left-back and let him go, because right now we need to be utilising, in an otherwise risk-averse, boring kind of fossil football stuff, Micky van der Ven is a key core asset that we should be using in a better way than we currently are. I don't know how I got onto the centre-back thing, but for me, Raskin is not the solution that I'd be looking for. And lastly, just quickly, there's one other story for you guys before I got to go, and that is Nathan De Cat, a 17-year-old playing for Anderlecht. We're linked with him apparently this morning. He's a really interesting player. I ran him through the Y-Scout tool. I looked at him. He's very, very nice. He's a DM, sort of central midfielder / DM. He gets forward, though, for Anderlecht. Really interesting player. He's 17 years old. He's going to cost probably 15, 20 million. Plus, you probably have to loan him back. Plus, you might have to put in some sort of sell-on fee on him, I would imagine. Really interesting player. And I do like him, but I am not in the mode right now of considering more 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds to be adding to the squad and chewing up precious budget. Maybe if we can get it done, like, keep an eye on him. Nathan De Cat. Cool name. Interesting looking fella as well. and a very interesting player. I'll speak more about him in tomorrow's update when I've got a bit more time. I'm going to let you go now. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. Please do. And I will see you later on. But let me know about Ferran Torres. Is he one that you think we can make it work? Do you like the story? Let me know, guys. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, bye-bye.